thank you very much for attending this session on marine cosmetics. And I would like to have it as a panel discussion, but also a little bit interactive. We had all a fabulous lunch and we had fabulous meetings. And now we would like to introduce certain topics on cosmetics, but all together, and I appreciate your inputs whenever you feel to make one. Thank you very much. I'm Sven Gola. I'm professor for pharmaceutical technology, but also owner of a technology consulting company located in Switzerland. And I'm extremely happy here to have a panel of specialists on cosmetics per se. Ines Linke, Fred Zülli, and Guinolet Le Calves. The last name is Celtic, and for me, as a not Celtic person, very difficult to pronounce. Cosmetics are somehow a business that sound not to everyone familiar, but it comprises of $62 billion revenue in just 2015. And on active ingredients, you have roughly about 1.5 billion of revenue in 2015. One expects a 4.5% rise from 2015 to 2025. And the most important market share is skincare, where almost all active ingredients are formulated. And here I come to the first questions to the panel. And I would like to discuss the comparison of marine and terrestrial ingredients. What are the similarities? What are the differences? Ines, would you like to start to give us your update?
Okay, I do so. Maybe I introduce
yes,
my
of course.
company
You should
first.
introduce your first, because I forgot just to do that. You should do it, please.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad I'm no slides around me. So, hello, everybody. My name is Ines Linke, and I'm the co-founder with two other marine biologists and got thanks an MBA as well. In 2001 in Kiel, located on the Baltic coast, we founded Ocean Basis, a company doing research and also extraction from marine organisms, namely seaweed, and also developing of final products, so to say. So in our actives division, we have 4 different gently processed extracts from algae, but also from jellyfish. Who is interested can talk to me later on. And in our biotech division, we are with strong cooperation with universities as well as GeoMar in Kiel. We're doing research like algae against cancer, or also looking on jellyfish collagen, apparently against cartilage or for cartilage repairage, etc., etc. And finally, this is now a short advertising block. We make an own brand, Ocean Well. Look on your paper bags you got yesterday. And Ocean Well is now consists of 3 lines with 19 products, and the USP is that it's a natural cosmetics, certified natural cosmetics, which is a big deal in Germany right now, growing up. So our company does it all under the roof of sustainability, to set a final point.
Thank you very much, and sorry for my lapses.
No.
Guinolet, would you like to introduce yourself and your company, please?
Yes. So I am Guinolet Le Calves. I'm the general manager of BioMarine. BioMarine is a supplier of active ingredient for the cosmetic industry, mainly for skincare, derived from a marine biomass, either algae or marine plants. We also have an activity in marine stem cells or algae cells. We are approximately 50 people, and we belong to the CEPI group.
Thank you very much. Fred, may I beg you in?
Yes, my name is Fred Zülli. I'm responsible for a business unit called Mibel Biochemistry. It's a Swiss-based company, and we manufacture raw materials for the cosmetic industry, and we call them active ingredients because we get a better price for that. And the idea is that these active ingredients actually have to deliver 2 functions to the products. One function is the activity, like moisturizing, anti-aging, whatever, but they also have to deliver a marketing story. And I think this is very important, the marketing story. And I'm a biochemist, and if you ask me as a scientist, what is more important, science or marketing, it's a difficult question to answer. But in this aspect, I would say marketing is first important, because if you want to sell a product, a cosmetic in a shop, the story of this product will make the first decision to look at the product. If the product is good, it's very nice, but nobody sees it, nobody's going to buying it. Therefore, marketing is very important, and therefore I think it's also the question why we can get or how we can get interesting ingredients, and therefore we are looking for the marine world, because the marine world will have a lot of interesting molecules and products with activity, but also with marketing stories, and that's why I'm here.
Good. So if I summarize, the cosmetic is all about science, but all about the story about science for the non-educated people who are not scientists in that respect. A very important aspect. And now I would like to come back to the first question. Mm-hmm. How would you combine the marine and the terrestrial ingredients, and where would you draw similarities and where would you draw differences? Mm-hmm.
So first of all, I would like to draw some differences, because if I stress now the algae, for instance also the macroalgae, they are the oldest plants of the world, and if you think of that all life come from ocean, and here we are with the story again, but we can turn to it back later. So if all life comes from the ocean, that means that the composition of minerals and elements within algae, especially the seaweed we are working with, they are very much the same than in our blood cells or tissue cells. So that means that just to say it simple, our body or our skin recognizes the elements and it takes it, and that enables marine ingredients really to go through to penetrate the skin. And also on the other hand, it can carry especially substances, high efficacy. Oh my God, English. Highly effective substances. They can carry through the skin. So that is one of the main topics about marine ingredients, I think.
Binuli, how would you add in?
Yes, I would say that marine ingredients offer an incredible number of new discoveries. 70%, some people say that, of the marine biomass, marine organisms are even not known today, as I think the terrestrial ingredients are better known. So marine ingredients offer a wonderful opportunity for the next decades, for the next generation, to grow and to develop many new products, many new discoveries. So I think it's one difference. Another difference is that algae are very rich in polysaccharides, and very interesting and unique polysaccharides. Mm-hmm. One of them, which is making the buzz in nutrition now, is fucoidans, for example. Fucoidans is a very interesting polysaccharide, already known in nutrition, and I'm convinced there is application on fucoidans in cosmetics too. And seaweeds, algae are also very rich in antioxidants. So that's three differences I would see.
Excellent. Fred, what would be your contribution?
Yeah, I think the cosmetic industry has used plant extracts in the past. And has been a huge variety of plant extracts which have been studied in traditional medicine to deliver beneficial effects. And the cosmetic industry is also a very innovative industry, always looking for new things. And as we have heard in the last 2 days, I think the marine world is largely undiscovered. And that's why I see a lot of new opportunities in this field to develop new ingredients to the customers, and also I think it's going to be very interesting for the consumers to get new ideas, because I think the plant world is well known to the customers and consumers, and the marine world is really new.
Well, so my take on that.
I would like to add one more point about the concentration of the ingredients in such algae, for instance, because the blades of the algae, they accumulate and they make their own ingredients and they accumulate the ingredients of the sea. So that means, for instance, as a simple comparison, 1 kilo fresh algae compares the ingredients of 10,000 liters of seawater. So it's a high potential plant as well.
Very good. That leads me to a second question. First of all, I think somehow the oceans, we have an ocean in ourselves, in the bloodstream, and the lymphatics in the cells that represents more or less the ancient ocean, the composition of the ancient ocean. We internalize that to live. However, now we talk about these days to harvest, to control harvest ocean resources. And that leads me to the question of sustainability. So what is your take on sustainability? Are you on harvesting, more on the biotechnological side? Fred, what would you say on that one?
I think this is quite a good question, because if we deal with, let's say, consumers, the green consumer, they like natural products. But also a big topic is now sustainability. And there I think your question goes, how does sustainability match with natural harvest?
Exactly.
And I think this is quite a difficult question. And I think one solution to that is biotechnology, so that we can cultivate or kind of culture these organisms and plants from marine sources in artificial structures and get fully natural compounds out of that, and at the same time we can save the world, the oceans, from over kind of collecting or harvesting. So that's, I think, biotechnology going to be a big topic in this area.
What is your opinion, Guilherme?
We do both. We do both. First of all, because where we are based in Brittany, Bretagne, in the west of France, you have the highest density of seaweed in the world. I always say it's a submarine Amazonia. And we have a big resource there. We pay attention to collect the resource with care, according to the best practice of collection, but we will continue to collect, to harvest seaweed on the marine, on the seaside. That's one thing. We also work with biotechnologies because they offer a way to respond to sustainability, and they also offer a way to collect and to get access to seaweeds which we cannot collect. For example, there are very small seaweeds like algae cells or filament of algae cells. They are microscopic. You cannot collect them in the nature. So we grow them in laboratories. This combines a good supplyability, perfect sustainability, and new products for the markets. So we do both, and we will continue to do both.
Ines?
Yeah, I agree, definitely. I think both ways will grow up and have to come up. For once, sustainable harvesting, okay, is one side, but on the Baltic coast, for instance, we don't have this richness than in the Brittany, but so we prefer then to focus on cultivating, and this should come much more, because these kind of aquacultures are also improving the environment of the ocean. So if we have a lot of algae farm around, that will enrich the whole environment to a certain grade, of course. So far we put more effort in corporations also into seaweed farms. On the other hand, biotechnology will come, or has to come, much more up as long as during the time we're doing more research also on ingredients, we find more and more specific, very interesting molecules. And this is then the point where I don't go out and will harvest tons or kilos of algae for one certain ingredient. That's then better to use it by biotechnological methods than in the lab. So I agree perfectly.
I think you made the remark yesterday that you don't want, that someone should not make the same mistake like in the Amazonians or Indonesia, for example, in the coast shore of Brittany, so that you destroy the kelp forest, something like that. Biotech is also part of the next question. So if you think about the future breakthroughs in cosmetic research, what do you think would be the contribution of biotechnology? Guignol, would you like to?
Okay. There are mega trends in the cosmetic market, new market segment emerging. I will give, to be pragmatic, three examples. Historically, we have been used to test the biological activity on 28 days or 56 days. The world is changing, especially through the Asian market. Asian people, they want immediate efficacy. Now we are asked by mainly the Asian customers, 10 days. 10 days, immediate effect. So I think we need to develop actives with more immediate efficacy, and biotechnology will definitely be a way to have more efficacy quicker. Anti-pollution actives is not so new. 5 years ago it started, but now it's a big boom. And we also see many anti-pollution actives emerging on the market. Mm-hmm. And a third trend, which Fred mentioned, is naturality. Naturality, the customer in cosmetics, our final customer, and the final consumer, they want a natural product. So I think that marine ingredients have everything to address these new requirements. The blue actives can combine efficacy, naturality, immediate efficacy, to my point of view.
Excellent. Fred, what is your take on that?
Yes, in Switzerland, of course, natural harvest of marine ingredients is very difficult, like the ocean. So, of course, biotechnology is the method of choice. And I think there's, as we heard, there's a lot of opportunities in this field, but it's also very important to understand the problems or the threats of this industry, because it is a very expensive industry to make biomass. So if you calculate the cost you have to generate some kilos of biomass, it can be very high. And this means you have to make sure that you have added value to the product. So it's just something which you can cultivate in a bioreactor and you can harvest it in the sea. In a bioreactor, it's going to be too expensive. So you have to think about how you can add value to these products. And I think this is an important challenge of our industry to generate these values to the products. And there, again, I come in with the marketing story. Mm-hmm. So if you can generate a good marketing story, I think this will help to bring in the value to the products.
Mm-hmm. Ines?
Okay, I'm more old-fashioned, so to say. So we focus sort of back to basics. As you stressed out the point, you as well, the natural of an extract, or the naturality of a whole extract coming from an algae. Like Aristotle said before, the whole is more than the sum of its parts. We think that the whole extract used in cosmetics, it's much more efficient than I just take a molecule here and a sugar there and then put it together. But in addition to that, of course, we need this high efficacy added values as well to the cosmetics.
I think if we look at the different biotechnologies, we have already very good marketing terms in the determination, the blue, the green, the red, the white, that makes the people curious, and I think they all will contribute to cosmetic innovations. But Ines, if I would ask you about the perspective of cosmetics within the next 10 years, what would be your take on that? What would be your comment on that?
So the main perspective is it's a new field and then lots of opportunities, new challenges, but on the same side, it's a very, very old-fashioned basic naturality lying in this source of my biology. So my point would be, back to basics, being authentic and being pure.
Similia similibus curantur.
Okay. Yes, thanks. Just wanted to say it.
Guinoulet?
I would like to speak about digitalization. In the world today, digitalization is really already there. Mm-hmm. More for the manufacturer of finished cosmetic products, so for our customers. It has transformed the industry. Today, a company launching a new cosmetic product doesn't have to be approved in Sephora. It can sell through internet. It's a reality today. I'm just back from the US. In the US, you have plenty of indie brands on the West Coast, which in 2 years have developed significant business, starting from nothing, because they have a direct access to the final consumer. And for us, as a supplier, this will come. Today, we are not too much affected by digitalization. But my conviction is that tomorrow, the final consumer will take his smartphone, he will scan the inky names, and he will like to see these active ingredients. Where does it come from? What is the story about the active ingredient? What is the safety? That's, for me, something we will have to address within 5 to 10 years as a supplier of active ingredient.
Short comment on that one. That exists in clothing, in the fashion industry already in Korea and Japan, where you have your hand phone and you could put on yourself in different dresses, but also makeups. So this is definitely not 5 years away. It may be only 2 years away. Fred, what is your take on that?
Well, I think what I like in this discussion here is that we talk about consumers and customers, because these are the people who pay our salaries.
Right.
And we have to think it's not a technology-driven industry, it's a consumer-driven industry. So it's not a question what we can do, it's a question what will be bought. And I think this, in the next 10 years, we have to interact with the consumers, buy smartphones or whatever, and see what is really the need, how is the trend changing, and how we can serve these trends with the corresponding finished cosmetic products and the ingredients. And it's not driven really on technology. So technology push is one thing, but I think there's also, we have to follow the consumer demands.
That's correct. If you talk to marketing-driven cosmetic companies, you get this timeline of, tell me your story of technology in 10 seconds. And if you cannot do that, you're out of the bin. That's what they call in marketing terms the elevator pitch. It's a pretty fast one, actually. We talked about innovation. We talked about all the possibilities of biotechnology, marine biotechnology, natural harvesting, holistic approach. But what about the regulatory constraints? How do you would put this innovation in relation to the regulations on cosmetics per se? Fred, how would you?
I think this is a good point. It seems that regulatory really is a kind of a killer of the innovation in the industry. And there's a lot of problems coming up. There's more and more regulation in the industry. And finally, we still see that if there is a consumer demand for something, there will be products in the market, and sometimes regulatory will follow what is already in the market. So that could be technology, could be stem cells, whatever. I mean, there's no regulatory for that, but the products are in the market. So regulatory can, to some extent, always be behind. And then if you're fast enough, you at least get the 10 years of market opportunity before regulatory blocks in. Yeah.
So you say guerrilla marketing, create facts and let regulatory follow.
Exactly.
Okay. What is your take on that?
I agree with Fred, and I see two kinds of constraints. There is a Chinese regulation, which has blocked us a lot, and Fred is right on that. There is a positive list in China. If you are not in the list, it's difficult to sell the active to global players because they want a global formula. And there is, more positively, a regulatory on Nagoya Protocol. Nagoya Protocol is a way to assure benefit sharing, fair access to genetic resources. This is a law. Right or wrong, we have to accept it. And most of the countries have now ratified the Nagoya Protocol, and we have to respect it. And in Biotech Marine, we want to be a leader, we want to be a best in class, to respect the Nagoya Protocol, to be sure that the resource that we have access to, we have access according to the law, respecting the Nagoya Protocol. It's a constraint, it's also an opportunity, because the final consumer wants us to be perfectly perfect in terms of social, environmental responsibility.
And Ines, do you?
Since we started being natural cosmetic certified, we experienced the regulations more than a partner than a restriction, because we came from a small.
Excellent. I think my comment on that is I think this is a kind of a power play between what should be regulated the pharmaceutical way and what should be innovation. So you need to be more creative, as also Fred said, to create more facts, more momentum, and then let the regulatory affairs have a close look at it, but not with a very stringent eye, with two eyes. As we are here in this forum and also at BioMarine, we have a lot of companies that work as startups to create active ingredients. And in my perspective, I realize that many companies are starting to make ingredients with a pharmaceutical idea in the forehead. And my question to you would be, how do you see or what would be your recommendation and perspective on the ingredient development for universities and institutions in terms of the expectation of the return of investment in work and in money? And Fred, can you start?
I think it's a good point. I mean, we have heard a lot of figures during these 2 days about how big the market is, but we have to think that the market is usually quite fragmented. And if you come down to your niche, the market may be quite small, and then you have really to think about how big can an investment be, how long can I do research before I can bring the product to the market. And I think we see that a lot of kind of, let's say, spin-offs from university, they focus on a technology, and then very late they start to include thinking about regulatory and final also marketing and selling the products. So to develop a product and to sell a product may take the same time. I think it's important to think straight away from the first idea on an ingredient, also how I'm going to sell it and to whom I'm going to sell it, to allocate the right cost for the development.
So you would also say that if companies think pharmaceutical, they might think of a revenue of 100 million and more, but you would at least cut 1 or 2 O's away from that.
Exactly.
Correct?
Exactly.
I think that's important for everyone to know who starts that. What do you think about that?
I mean,
Yes.
I don't have nothing special, clever to add, actually. You said you put it on the point. Actually. Maybe unless, the point is also that you should be authentic with that. What are you doing? And sometimes if you see the target, although it takes maybe sort of a row, it's still worth to follow it.
Right.
But of course you need to be to look at the market and or the opportunities you have.
Excellent. Emily?
No, nothing specific to add, and I agree that it's important, on top of the science from the academic research, to think on the storytelling, as Fred has well mentioned at the beginning of our panel.
Absolutely. As we still have a little bit of time, I would like to invite the auditory to add some more questions to us, if there are any applicable. And so is there anyone who has particular questions to what we have been discussing about? If not, then I would make a short summary. Where there is someone, then my eyes, I should wear a glass, and
No, they should
because
turn off the lights.
I'm not seeing black. Thank you. Yes.
Bruno Ferreira from Biotrend Portugal. We are a bioprocess engineering companies, and we often have as clients startups which want to launch products on the market. Many of these startups start at the university, where a lot of public money goes into very interesting research. And you mentioned that most of these scientists and even people who are starting these businesses don't have the adequate knowledge of what the market really needs, of what products do they need, of what the process is to reach the market. But I will focus only the question on what the market really needs. And you are on the market. So I would like to know from your perspective, from people who might be out there looking for new ingredients, new actives to incorporate in your products, in your portfolio, how would you bridge this gap between people who are researching, who are extracting, who are every day testing, performing thousands of tests of different activities, but they don't have a clue whether that activity is a new one, or don't have a benchmark to compare their potency with what is already on the market. how would you be able to support these people to narrow down and to make their choices?
Okay, there are different approaches, if I may take mine. First of all, there is the so-called NIH model that has been trained by the pharmaceutical industry. You put people at the bench who also have a business acumen. So you start a development from scratch just by the fact of business and the direction of a new ingredient development. That is somehow done, and that our people in the industry are also doing if they collaborate with startups. But you're absolutely right, some of them start without any clue in what direction it should develop. That's correct, and that's not their mistake. I would like to push this question into the group, and would like you to answer.
I would answer it really in a nutshell. When you develop a product for a final consumer, you need three things. You need to speak to your heart, to your brain, or to your skin. The heart is for the storytelling, the brain is for the science, the skin is for the texture.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
And maybe you tell a nice story around it, and then that's it.
Yeah, I think the point is really to not spend too much time in the lab, but also sometimes go out and talk to potential customer or talk to a kind of a peer who has been working in industry and ask him, do you think that will sell? And I think if you get a no, then you have to remodulate your approach.
I think that's very important to start from the beginning to ask, is there something in that business you want to do? And even if you come from the university, to approach the industry actively. Otherwise, you may produce a dead duck. Are there any more questions of the audience? Okay, then I would like to close. We have been having a very good discussion here. I want to thank all the participants and the panel, and thank you, the audience, to listen to us and to pose some questions. Thank you very much.